And we will bring back the American dream, bigger, better, stronger, and just better, bigger, better. We love the American dream. You don't hear about the American dream. When was the last time you heard about the American dream? They don't talk about it, although they copy everything else I do, so I guess that'll be next.
Bigger, better, bigger, better, bigger. Now, of course, Vice President Kamala Harris does talk quite a bit about the American dream and its policies that embody the pursuit at giving that to as many Americans, all Americans, I should say. Much more to look at from this Potterville, Michigan speech. Trump is known for his mood swings, and so he'll either come out, as he's been consistently lately, really bummed out, sort of seeming a little depressed, sad, uninterested in what he's saying, or the alternative is just as bad but for opposite reasons, where he's shot out of a cannon as he was here, and thus says a lot of things that often get him into trouble. I saw in response to this speech, Mice Touch said, let's check in with Trump's speech on the economy, and then you look at these clips. Doesn't quite fit the branding. He said this in an insecure way.
So bad. I saw her make a speech. It was so bad. And after they get off, this was one of the greatest performances we've ever seen in our country. With me, I make a speech. I speak for 2 hours. Everybody loves it. I got thousands of people, by the way, outside trying to get in. They never said Trump's a great speaker. I don't even want that, but I must be a great speaker, right? I must. We got thousands of people.
No, them. You're supposed to be focusing on them, on voters, on their hardship, on what they want to see in America. It's always about Trump. He's been doing this routine over and over, and I'm getting very tired of it.
And nobody really knows her. They were doing something, the man on the street, they said, you know Harris? Everyone's saying, who the hell is Harris? Nobody knows who Harris is. What's the vice president's name? They have no idea what the name is. Now, the name Kamala it's a little complex because there's about 19 different ways of pronouncing it, right? But Kamala is, at least it's a name you sort of remember. You can't use Harris because nobody knows who the hell Harris is. Who's Harris? We want somebody they know. And, you know, one of the reasons they don't know, she did a lousy job.
So, first of all, I think if you said Vice President Harris, most people should know. That's a strange point. But no, there's one way to pronounce Kamala Harris's first name. It's Kamala. And their struggles with it continue to baffle me. But I have seen, just sort of in a fun, lighthearted way, people will respond and say, all right, if you're so confused, in a few months you can just go ahead and call her Madam President. That can make it simpler for you. And then he rants about, this is him trying to save the campaign, right? Everything's sort of spiraling. It's not going the way he wants it to. The attacks aren't landing. And he comes out, I don't get how even he couldn't stay on message. He can't do it. And it's to his campaign's detriment. It's sort of interesting because, quickly before this next clip, there's two options for those surrounding him. On one end, we looked at the reporting about them wanting to figure out how to get him off the golf course, where he's just reportedly grumbling and ranting about how things are going, and instead to get him into a campaign mode. We saw reporting about he's going to ramp up the campaigning now. But when they do that, it's hard to keep him in a box where he'll actually deliver something effective. And instead, headlines coming out of a speech like this will be all about his bizarre rantings and rambles. My colleague Jaden just told me, and you can look at this on screen, we're going to put on screen, 5 million views last week came from people who aren't subscribed. If that's one of you, click that subscribe button, baby. It's easy, it's free, but it makes all the difference. Back to the video.
Look, she's incompetent. She can't do an interview? It's been months. She can't. I just did an interview backstage. She was a very terrible person, but she was okay, actually. NBC fake news. It was NBC fake news. She asked me about all sorts of things. She asked me about abortion, and I handled it very nicely because you know what? That's so overplayed. We have abortion. We have the whole thing brought back into the states where it belongs. That's where.
I can already see a headline. Trump says abortion, quote unquote, overplayed. Yeah, that's the response on abortion to millions of women and millions of people generally in the interest of women being motivated on this issue, understanding the destruction that's been done because of the justice he got on the Supreme Court that have allowed for these state-by-state laws to be implemented. I'm sure people are going to be satisfied with, that's way overplayed, please.
Everybody wanted it for years and years and years, and they're voting on it. And I happen to believe in the exceptions Ronald Reagan did for life of the mother, rape, incest. The exceptions, probably 90% of the people do. Look.
You know how he keeps saying, and this is just, it's so deranged. It's so deranged. He keeps saying that everyone wanted Roe v. Wade overturned. The majority didn't. You're lying. It's crazy how often he's able to say something. And it reminds me of the Stephanie Grisham, who worked right alongside him up until January 6th, and then she left, saying at the DNC that Trump would say to her repeatedly, quote unquote, it doesn't matter what you say. If you say it enough, people will believe it. That's what we're seeing. And it's pretty sickening to tell people who are in pain, lives that are being ruined, and say, oh, no. It's overplayed, and this is what you wanted. You wanted me to punch you. That's what this is. You asked for this. No, we didn't. Then take a look at this, I should say. Trump tries to claim he's leading the polls, then claims they're rigged against him. Which one is it?
You see me going up in the polls, and we're leading in the polls, and I think we're leading by a lot. You know, the polls are rigged too. The polls are rigged too. You know, they say Donald Trump is tied. You know, we were up massively by Biden. How would you like to be me? I spent $100 million on beating Biden. We had a debate, and everybody said, this guy's shot. They never give me credit. They say he was shot. Maybe I did a good job. Somebody said that was the greatest debate performance I've ever said. And then you know what? That I've ever seen. Said it was a CNN person.
Is he okay? I don't like getting into territory speculating. It's not important about uppers and what sort of going on. This is why people start diving into those discussions of what the heck gets into Trump where he's acting like this compared to, and Harris is a Marxist. As we've seen in recent speeches, it's all very strange.
Said this is the single greatest guy shot. They never give me credit. They say he was shot. Maybe I did a good job. Somebody said that was the greatest debate performance I've ever said. And then you know what? That I've ever seen. Said it was a CNN person. Said this is the single greatest debate performance I've ever seen. 2 days later, they forgot about that. They said he was terrible. You know, but that's all right. Whatever it takes. But you know, I spent $100 million on fighting him. We weren't fighting anyone else. We weren't fighting a vice president. We didn't even know who the hell she was.
Well, you should genuinely go to a doctor if that's true. No, I know he's being facetious, but if you literally didn't know who the vice president was, that's bad. Given the line of work that Trump's in, he should know. So a lot there. It's easy to go through every part of it, and we've already so extensively talked about his obsession with wanting to run against Biden. But just quickly, that's a you problem. You're admitting that you attack the person, the identity, and not the policies by saying this. He goes, we weren't running against anyone else. We were running against Biden. Yeah, and you're so fixated on degrading someone politically by degrading them personally, which makes it all about them. And so just by simply switching out Biden, all of your attacks are irrelevant. Instead of a comprehensive set of policy reasons that you're against a party, a platform, and a set of leaders that represent that then could be translated. If some MAGA knockoff of Trump switched out with him, the core policies would be the same. Trump happen to show us with his record uniquely bad things that add to the equation, but those key policy things would be the same. But he's so disoriented because it's so personal. When they say, oh, we need Trump to stop doing the petty personal attacks and talk about policy, the petty personal attacks is all he has. That's his whole playbook. And it worked with Biden because of the unique weaknesses that he was able to exploit. But it's not working anymore. And Trump can't stop complaining. Get over it. Or you know what? Don't get over it. Complain every single day. Talk about how everyone should just love your speeches and should hate Kamala Harris. You didn't know who she was. And all the polls are rigged against you. You're the biggest victim. And then lose. Just do that. That's fine with me, actually. Keep running a fake shadow campaign against the guy who's dropped off the ticket already and sabotage your whole own campaign. Okay. I want you to lose, so that's fine with me. But then, how can you say, I'm so great, as shown by the polls, but also the polls are rigged and that's why I'm not leading in them? No. No, sir. No. You're not leading in the polls because there's been a shift. You still have, unfortunately, quite the shot at winning with the polls currently stand, which is why I'm not popping the champagne yet. But the reason the polls have shifted is because people are liking Kamala Harris. And it's crazy that MAGA pointed to the same. I don't know why Trump's getting under my skin so much today. I talk about him every day and you just don't get this hyped up. But he cited everyone, woohoo! Yeah! Trump, American people love Trump, as shown by polls that showed Biden losing to Trump. Those same pollsters have shown a progression in Kamala Harris' direction, and now they're rigged? And what? I'm sorry, if you come for calm commentary, I'm failing you today, but what would be the ever-loving point of the Democratic deep state faking polls to make Democrats confident and make them think they're leading when they're not? What would that do? If the polls were rigged and those who had the power to rig them were trying to help Kamala Harris' campaign, you know what they would do? They would make her about 1 to 2 points behind in every single poll. Because then it's close, it's doable, but you gotta go out and vote. Making her lead is not even the most strategic thing. It doesn't make any sense. Oh. Then he says this.
Probably 90% of the people do. But you know, I was just telling this reporter, the real problem and the real radicals on that issue are the Democrats, where you can have an abortion in the 9th month. And in 6 states, you're allowed to kill the baby after the baby is born. And you know, one of those states is Minnesota, where this tampon Tim comes from. Kill the baby after the baby's born. So that's no longer abortion. That's called execution, right? You're allowed to execute the baby after the baby.
Let me cite Aaron Rupar here, who does incredible work daily. Trump pushes his disgusting, misogynistic lie that moms in Minnesota and other blue states can legally murder their babies after they're born. Sick stuff, we'll say. Indeed. We've gone over it a million times. Even the example we recently talked about that he cites of the former Virginia governor, even that he's wrong about. And it's one of those examples that gets me so mad, but then I think, you know what? Maybe this is a sign that even they acknowledge how wrong their stance is, because the only way they feel they can make their stance seem less extreme is to make ours seem more. Those super late-term abortions that they fearmonger about are exclusively medical emergencies of some sort because some health problem happened. And the post ones they talk about don't exist. Then he says this.
Well, do we have a president? He just got back from California. He was supposed to go to the White House. He never got there. He went to Delaware, and he's laying on a beach sleeping all day long. No, seriously, who the hell wants to sleep? And who wants to sleep in public? He's sleeping. Do you think President Xi of China is at a beach sleeping?
China!
Do you think Kim Jong-un is sleeping from North Korea with his nuclear weapons all over the place? They don't sleep.
They don't sleep. They aren't human, apparently. So first of all, RNC, Trump fell asleep at it. His criminal trial, Trump fell asleep at it. So we can just stop with that, Don. And also, I say with love and respect, Biden doesn't give a you-know-what lately. It's been so funny. I'm perfectly confident in his ability and in his execution of the job of president. But when he does talk to reporters, he's so blunt with them. And seeing those images of him on the beach, he's just like, all right, you know what, Kamala, take the reins. Peace out. While still, of course, being president. But there's a little funny element to that, even if there's a contradiction. Last thing on this, I'm not trying to beat up on this one CNN reporter or even CNN generally, but this is what mainstream media is able to do that makes seem, how should I say it properly, that makes the insane seem sane. People refer to it as sane washing, and look at, when we talked about Trump making the most misogynistic, disgusting, bringing a blowjob, that term, about Kamala Harris online, and then saying all of his political opponents, posting one photo after another, should be locked up. And this is how that was reported on as sort of a coming up next on CNN.
People don't know. Going pretty low, I'd say very low, in online attacks against Vice President Harris. This is the trolling wars between the two campaigns have been escalating for several weeks. One of Trump's former top advisors joins me on that next.
No. You don't call this trolling wars. They're just sort of out doing it. This is the quintessential both sidesism that drives people nuts. Now, to be clear, I see some out there, especially in our space, because it is in the interest of those who aren't mainstream media, for people to not watch mainstream media. You'll see some people, I think, go overboard in disparaging all of the work that's done by mainstream media and sort of saying, this is why you got to abandon checking in on those at all. When in reality, a lot of the stuff we talk about, on us commentators who just sort of hop on and talk, comes from really great original reporting that's done by a lot of these bigger outlets. And so let's always be nuanced and say there are incredible reporters at CNN getting us some of the on the ground in war zones and from within campaigns reporting that is so necessary. And I have respect for that work, and I have respect for a lot of the people on these networks. Let's not go overboard, but we got to call out where they're wrong. And this is what drives people crazy about some of these outlets like CNN. And it's 13 seconds. They probably went on to totally denounce what he said. So I understand that. I'm not trying to mislead anybody. But that little 13 seconds just gives you a taste of a broader phenomenon that's hard to encapsulate in a segment, which is just a tonal thing. If you watch a lot of mainstream media, you pick up on. And here it was finally solidified into one little clip, which is taking Trump just absolutely doing the worst of the worst. Again, we covered that in a past segment. Just the most disgusting, sexist, gross, sexualized nonsense. And saying a bunch of his political opponents should be put in jail. And putting that in a sentence that makes it sound like it's going both ways. This is a part of the escalating trolling wars between the two campaigns. Back after this. I'll leave it there. That's kind of a crisp place to leave it now. Let me know what you thought of that in the comments. If you want to get extra content daily to support this show, you can do it by clicking the join button below.